Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about Lycan. Lycan is the most buffed hero of the patch. There's a couple of reasons for this. Number one, a lot of the meta has been nerfed. So, something like Lycan that I would say was kind of right behind the meta is obviously better. Then they buffed Vlad's, right? It only gives one more armor, but honestly the win rate of all of the heroes that buy this item has pretty significantly increased. So I guess giving one armor in an aura is pretty good. And if you think about it guys, something like Assault Cuirass, an incredibly expensive item, only grants 5 minus armor and 5 bonus armor to the teammates and enemies around you. So if you think about it, right, one extra armor is pretty damn significant. It certainly is. Especially for heroes like Skywrath this game, right? If he gets gone on by a Wind Ranger or a Faceless Void, that one extra armor can buy him a little bit of time to get his spells off, considering when you have low armor, getting a little bit of extra armor goes a long way. That is how the armor formula is set up. The less you have, the better it is. And so yeah, that was buffed. And then finally, the last thing to note is that they actually buffed the hero straight up. Lycan is a universal hero, and they gave him a little bit of base agility and agility gain, which is pretty damn nice. It's going to help the hero last hit a bit better, trade a bit better, and it gives him a slight bit of damage in the laning stage. So yeah, what we're going to be doing is following the best Lycan in the world. Kasane, this guy is a Lycan beast, absolute menace on the hero. He's known for his unit heroes. And so yeah, what we're going to be doing is following a game where he has a good start and a bad start, talking about kind of the differences of the games and the plays he looks for, and how you can become a Lycan master in a patch that will likely be dominated by this hero if the people in your bracket know how to play it.
Alright, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to let you guys know that I'm not only posting videos here on YouTube, I also frequently post videos on the website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, almost every single day I'm posting a new video to the GameLeap website. We're going to teach you guys in depth about how to get to the next level. So if you want to become absolutely broken, click the link down below and sign up.
In this lane, he's got a wand and 3 branches. This is the build that you want to go if you're trying to dominate on CS and just really play to grief the enemy. His lane is the Faceless Void Spearbreaker. It's pretty bad against Lycan. These heroes don't really pressure Lycan very well, even though he almost ends up dying. For the most part, he can contest the CS extremely aggressively. Notice how he pulls 0 creep aggro here. He doesn't try to hit them at all, nor does he want to. He wants the enemy creeps to continue to hit his creeps so that they go in deny range and he can contest them. And look what he's doing. He's kind of just sitting in their face here, trades with the Void a little bit, gets some good damage, overcommits just a tad, gets bashed, which was a little unlucky, and then goes back to last hitting. But basically, even those trades, I honestly don't think he should have gone for. You want to just focus on getting every single CS and every single deny in these lanes where they can't pressure you. You just want to sit inside of the creep and then hit with the same time with your wolf and your hero. If you can't do that, frankly, it's just something you have to practice. You want to stuff your units and your hero on the creep you're trying to deny so the enemy can't even click it, and so you can hit it at the same time. And yeah, at this point, Lycan just does an absurd amount of damage, right? His passive gives him bonus damage, right? Which works off his base damage, which is great because he's a universal hero. And in a clip like this, yeah, they end up taking out the Skywrath mage. He recognizes that the Spearbreaker is going to be in kill range, so he starts to attack move the wolves forward and looks for a body block. Didn't need it in that case, but it would have been good if he did. And yeah, at this point, with some good last hitting and good denying, you can have 15 CS, 16 CS, 17 CS at minute 330, and 12 denies. He is absolutely owning the Faceless Void on last hits, and that's not surprising. This matchup is incredibly easy. Now, the main timing for this hero is the Helm plus level 2 Feral Impulse. So you're going to see you skill up Feral Impulse. That's going to give you an extra 2 regen and 10% bonus damage, and now basically you're untouchable. You go from pretty pressurable to untouchable when you hit level 3 with Helm of Iron Will, and this is how most Lycan lanes go. So you want to play for denies and CS in these types of matchups, and then from there, once you hit this 3 spike, now you should continue to deny to keep the lane back, and basically if they step up and go for a CS, you just beat the heck out of them. Because they can't trade, right? Like, no one can trade that's like a physical damage hero in melee. Like, Slark can't really trade with you, even though it might seem like he can. He really can't into the wolves and the right clicks. Void can't trade into you. Generally, Wraith King can't at this point either. Sven can't. Like, PA can't. So a lot of these melee heroes just get completely bullied out, and yeah, they kill off the Void. He can cut the wave. At this point, he's just kind of farming up his next timing as the NP TP's in. Oh boy, absolute disaster for the enemy. But yeah, he's going to hit his Helm timing, and then on the Helm timing, you're going to take the tower. It's a very, very easy formula. You don't need to dive. You shouldn't be like going super crazy pre-Helm. I mean, they did there only because of how easy this lane is and because of the NP TP. But yeah, you don't have to go that crazy. When you get your helm, this is when you really look to dive the tower and amp up the pressure completely. So yeah, he hits level 6, and funny enough, he gets charged, which is a little goofy. He gets charged, and he clicks shapeshift and sends his creeps mid to gank the Coddle, uses the Wild Wing to push the Coddle back, and secures the kill. From there, full HP tower just dies. And in good Lycan games, this is what you do. You hit 6 with your helm, and you kill mid, right? And this just collapses the enemy team's map. They lose all of their mid control. They try to take a fight here, which kind of makes sense. The shapeshift was ending, and he does end up going down. So kind of a good play from the enemy, but it costs them their mid tower and the life of the Spirit Breaker, so you're super happy with that trade. From there, when shapeshift is off cooldown, you should just farm up your lane. Basically, in these really free Lycan games, you push in your lane, you try to take your tower, and then when shapeshift comes up, you look to either rotate mid, or if the enemy safe laner is very weak to you, you just kill them. But yeah, in this clip here, the enemy is taking a fight in the jungle, very close to him. He takes over the Alpha Wolf, which gives him an absurd amount of damage here. This Alpha Wolf creep early game is insane, and he rips apart the enemy Faceless Void and Spirit Breaker. From there, they're going to look to take the top tower. A Coddle ends up kind of coming over top, which is really stupid of him, and they get that kill too. And at this point, it's a pretty easy game. You farm up your area, you push it in your lane. He's a little afraid of getting charged here. He actually reads the smoke, which is super high skill. Gets a TP out, really nice, good read. And one thing you can do on Lycan as well is farm Ancients. Your hero is very, very good at farming Ancients because of how tanky it is. And so funny enough, he's like auto-attacking the Ancients with his main hero and using the units to farm the deep jungle as he gets his Helm 2 at minute 13, which is an insane timing. I mean, this is obscenely farm. And now he's going to push out mid, right? Basically, you want to start to collapse the map and group up with your team, as he does get chain stun here, but Lycan is very, very tanky, and yes, he goes down, but it costs him so much. Like, I kind of respect this play from the enemy team. They see the Lycan being very aggro, but he's got 2 wards in the area. He can kind of see this coming. Your ulti, by the way, gives you health when you click it. It gives you 200 bonus health. Also, you can crit 40% of the time, and so can your units for 160%. So yeah, this ability is nuts. But yeah, kills off the Spirit Breaker. When you're dying, don't panic. Just put your units on the squishiest hero that's low mobility. If he puts it on Wind, he's going to lose a lot of value because she has Wind Run. So he should put it on the Spirit Breaker and then the Gyrocopter. They're very slow. They're very immobile. At least at this point of the game, right? Spirit Breaker isn't that fast. He was also committing to the Lycan kill, and so he gets a nice double for his team. Now from there, he's going to solo Roshan, which is pretty crazy that you can solo Rosh as this hero. So yeah, he solos Roshan, finishes up his AC, and then naturally you want to continue to look to connect to your team. Of course, if the enemy team is not looking to take a fight, you just ignore what's happening and eviscerate tier 2 towers, right? Just dead, instantly dead. You're gonna take this wave, and then you want to connect, believe it or not, to the next tower as he finds the Gyrocopter alone. Don't be afraid to use Shapeshift for solo kills. You're just gonna get giga farmed if you get these solo kills, right? It's definitely nice for your game. I mean, this is brutal. As I said, this is the free game, all right? We're going to cover a game where he has a pretty hard start and it's like a longer match. But yeah, in these matches, you just push in the wave. The enemy team isn't fighting. You just take the tower. If they are fighting, you connect. It's a very simple formula. You push forward. The only time you don't push forward is if they're all smoked and missing and your team is playing defensively, or especially if you don't have Shapeshift, then you can chill. Also, you can solo Tormentors with the AC timing, as he gets a little over-aggressive here, but he has AC, so I guess it doesn't matter. Oh my god. The damage at this point in the game is beautiful. Right. Alright, now let's get into the second game where the laning stage is a lot harder, and just in general, the match is much more difficult. We're not going to cover literally everything because that would require a 40-minute video, but we're going to cover the main things that allow you to become a good Lycan in these more difficult matches. So I would say his matchups this game are reasonably good. You're pretty good at killing Tusk, Lion, you're decently good against Animage, Earth Spirit is low armor. Jakiro is probably not a great matchup due to the attack speed slows, but still, you can kill him all. Okay, so in the laning stage, the big problem is he has Winter Wyvern, who, I mean, generally just isn't that good of a laner. It's okay in some matchups, but against these high pressure lanes like Animage, Jakiro, it's typically quite bad. So yeah, in the early levels, he's going to use once again, the stuff the wave with the wolves and the hero and get CS. Unfortunately, his Wyvern is going to die, but the main thing that he does is continue to get close to perfect CS. Now, the only real difference in the laning stage here is that if the matchup is hard, you want to pull a lot more creep aggro. He does a great job of kind of baiting Animage to commit for creeps and punishing him, but for the most part, what you want to do in these hard matchups is pull a lot more aggro or use the wolves to drag the wave from in between the tier 1 and the tier 2 over to your tier 1 and then play away from the enemy heroes. So unfortunately in this game, his Helm of Iron Will died on the courier, and that's obviously terrible, right? So what is one thing he does considering he's 0-2 and getting camped by the Jakiro? Well, what you want to do is use the wolves to last hit, right? You can also use them to pressure denies, and And this is a great way to make sure you can continue to get last hits and basically avoid really bad lanes from snowballing completely out of control by feeding away a lot of deaths. So yeah, he's able to get quite a few CS here. I guess the enemy mage was maybe afraid of some sort of rotation, I don't know, as he almost snipes the courier with the wolves as well. But yeah, he's able to work towards his level 6 here, and that's good, because he didn't know where Jakiro is. He doesn't see the Jakiro. The next thing you can do as well is, as I was kind of saying, you can farm up neutral camps and you can drag the wave. So he actually doesn't even try to lane at this point because of how bad it was going. As long as you have Helm of Iron Will and 2 points in your passive, you won't really take damage from neutral camps, and as a result, no matter how bad things get, you should be able to jungle at some point on Lycan and recover your game, because yeah, this hero jungles absurdly fast, like it's extremely efficient. And so yeah, he's able to farm him some neutrals, nearly finish up his Helm Dom, still at minute 9, which isn't great compared to the minute 7 we saw before. The wolves are bullying Animage. It's not as good as the minute 7 in the previous game, but all things considered, it's pretty okay as he continues to farm up the neutral camps. The next main thing I'd like to add is that you still want to play up on Shapeshift as long as you have Helm. No matter how late you get the Helm, typically you're still going to be strong on that timing. It doesn't really change that much if you get it from minute 7 to 10. Yes, in some games, like if a hero completes a certain item, maybe a Vanguard or whatever, by the time you get it, it will make a big difference and it will prevent you from pressuring that guy. You can make a move on someone who isn't unkillable, and it's your job to identify who is the pressurable guy. Now in this game, he doesn't put any emphasis on rotating to the mid lane like he did in the other game. In the other game, he was against a mid Cuddle, and that hero is very pressurable, right? A very gankable hero. Yeah, Cuddle's pretty fast in his Blinding Light, but you can get on top of him with Shapeshift, and so it made a lot of sense. In this game, ganking an Earth Spirit with no direct stun is very hard, right? Until Tiny has Blink Dagger, I think it's very difficult for them to try that play, and he knows that, so he doesn't bother trying to make that play. He gets gone on the top side here, but fortunately for him, he gets up Shapeshift. He's fine, he's quite alright. Looks for the Animage kill. A little bit difficult to get it here, but that's fine, right? At the end of the day, this is really net positive. His Enchantress is farming bottom, his PA is farming mid. You can feel pretty good about making this much space, and you want to use Shapeshift as much as possible. But now that Shapeshift is over, and the game is really hard, you do not push forward. Never do you push forward in this scenario. You go and you farm Ancients. It's one of the upsides of Lycan, and that's what he does. Takes the Ancient rotation, farms it up before it even, right before it spawned, which was super efficient. Now he comes back to the lane after that gets shoved back in, which is why taking Ancients is so good. After you take the Ancients, you shove it immediately back in. Unfortunately, you will end up going down sometimes, and maybe he could have read the gank, right? At the end of the day, only Tusk was showing on the map. The Earth Spirit, the Lion, and the Jakiro were all missing, so there wasn't really much of a good reason for him to feel safe. I would say the main way you can read stuff like this is by looking at the other waves and saying, are someone farming other waves? Like, no one's farming bottom here. And so he could say, okay, no one's farming bottom. The Animage is being very Chad, right? So maybe Animage has some information. To be fair, it's a really easy AM game, I'd say, in the early game, until Tiny has Blink. Even then, maybe he's fine. So maybe he could have read this because of the bot wave, but it's not the end of the world. And now, in typical Lycan fashion, you should get your Helm Dom from minute 16 to 18. Even in a really bad game, I think if you're getting your Helm giga late, you're honestly probably just sitting in bad areas, because you can farm Ancients basically no matter how bad the game is once you hit level 7, right? Once you're 7, you can take the Ancients. And so yeah, gets his Helm Dom 2, kills off the Tusk, kills the Jakiro. Now, of course, what are you going to do next? You're going to look to continue to farm Ancients. He finds a Black Dragon, right? In the triangle, this is obscenely efficient. How good this Black Dragon is at farming. So he's going to want to play up now. A big thing that Kasane does very well as a player, and a reason why I think he's 11k MMR or much higher than that, is because when he gets his timing, he knows how to play up and push his limits. He knows how to put a lot of pressure, right? And so you'll see he's taking very deep camps here, but he's playing on the knife's edge, right? There's definitely a chance where if he steps up a little bit too far, for instance here, he's got to be careful. If he does this a little bit too far, only slightly too far, he could end up going down. Like for instance, in this clip here, what I think is cool is he just kind of knows the general survivability of the creep. I guess he knows that the Tusk and the Earth Spirit and the Lion just don't do enough to kill it, and so he's wasting a lot of their time. He's showing them on the map so the PA and the Ench and the Wyvern and the Tiny can stay safe and feel safe. And he's just, yeah, as I was saying, wasting their time. From there, it's all about getting down the lane with the Helm too, right? You want to find opportunities where the enemy leaves a certain side of the map to force them back to you. Because if people have to rotate, they have to burn TPs, they have to waste time running to you, and that's very inefficient in Dota. So being able to make these moves, as we see him look for a dive here, this is definitely a bit deep. This is the type of play you need to be careful about, as they almost found the Tusk. But this is exactly what you want to do on Lycan, right? When the enemy team leaves and goes to one side of the map, you immediately go to the other and force them back. This is in the more even to difficult games, right? Where you're not immediately looking for a fight. They're trying to buy time for their PA, right? To come online. But yeah, just sieging tier 2 after tier 2. And yes, he has pretty good matchups in terms of sieging this game. Some games, they're going to have heavy physical damage hero, maybe like a sniper, is going to shoot your Black Dragon, and you shouldn't try to siege a tier 2 in a game like that. That's just stupid, right? You have to understand, can my dragon survive? And so if the answer is yes, you can slow siege like this, as he takes out 2 tier 2s, really opening up the map for his team. Now, if the game was really unplayable, what he should be doing is just using the Black Dragon to cut waves, right? Assuming he has a Black Dragon. That's the best creep you can get in the early game due to the farming speed. But yeah. If the game is really, really hard, you'd want to be doing stuff like this, which is like pushing the bot wave, cut it with your creeps, then farm all the nearby camps, and kind of just wait for fights to break out. Essentially, the main time you're playing for at this point, guys, is AC. AC allows you to solo Roche and solo Tormentors, and so you become an objective machine on the AC timing. And look, exactly that's what Kasane does. He completes the AC and immediately is into the Roshan pit, and immediately onto the Tormentor. You click Howl, and the Tormentors just disappear. And now at this point in the game, this is where things get kind of confusing because, you know, you don't have a tower to take. You don't have a Roche to take. You took the Tormentor. It's very, very unclear what you're supposed to do. And I would say for the most part, just continue to make sure you're pushing in one major creep wave, right? Pick a lane and make sure that wave is always being cut. And then after you push in that wave, look to sweep across the map. So you'll see he's going to very consistently push in mid this game, right? He's going to want to be the guy who controls the most dangerous wave, because there's no threat to him. And so I would say in the average match, controlling mid-wave with the dragon is your best bet, because it's very hard for other heroes to do that safely if the enemy team is there. However, in some matchups, right, in some games, your team is going to be able to safely clear mid because the enemy team is going to be playing in the side lanes. In those games, you should actually specifically send the dragon behind the enemy heroes and cut their creeps so they can't push your towers. Now, getting into the mid and late game in terms of item progression, I think there's 2 major items you can go, maybe 3. First of all is your shard. The shard is really broken, guys, because it sends a wolf down creep waves, and this basically gives you a ton of gold. Like, it's essentially a jacked up Midas because it also pushes in the bad waves. So you just get extremely high amounts of farm. Obviously, some of it's luck because the wolf has to get the last hits. It's going to give you a lot of map control and give you a lot of farm. The next item is Nullifier, which he bought 4th this game, which is very important against supports because the main thing people do to live against Lycan is buy Ghost Scepter, so you need Nullifier for that. The second thing they do is typically buy Force Staff, right? Nullifier counters both of those items, so Nullifier is great for that reason. Also, it gives you some damage, which is nice because your hero crits. And then finally, the last major item you could buy as well is Aghanim Scepter. It's really bad with ranged heroes because it lowers their attack range, but with melee heroes, it's absolutely fantastic because it gives them max movement speed, right? Shapeshift movement speed. And then on top of that, it gives them the same crit chance that you have, right? So it gives 40% crit for 220%, which is really, really solid, right? The 40% chance to crit is like obscenely high. You know, PA's chance to crit is 17%. You know, it's less than half of what Lycan gets. And for an example of how good this Ags can be, we'll kind of see in this clip here. It's really good with Tiny mid. When he buys right-click items, which he has this game, right? Silver Edge, Echo, Blink, especially because this guy is having a horrible game and has no BKB, the mobility is going to help him stay alive. I think it also gives him the bonus health, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to see it here, right? So Tiny's going to come over, combos up to Jakiro, pretty standard. Lycan's going to come over because he's out of mana, so it's kind of a bad situation. Usually Tiny would get stuck here, but with the max movement speed, yeah, so it does give the bonus 400 health. It gives you the 550 capped haste movement speed, and it's also going to give you that chance to crit. And so yeah, as the Wyvern ulti is ending here, massive crit. To be fair, some of it's Silver Edge, but massive crit onto the Earth Spirit, and he can actually chase down this Anti-Mage, right? This is all because of the Lycan Axe. Can stay on top of this guy, that tree throw crit as well, and he was able to take down the AM solely because of the Lycan Axe. So yeah, in games like this where you have PA, you have Jug, you have Tiny, these heavy right-click heroes, especially the immobile ones, it's incredibly powerful. And alright, that's going to be about all for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I definitely recommend picking Lycan. The hero receives so many buffs as of late, and so it's just so powerful. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.